This is the World Organic News podcast. This week we have a couple of ideas to discuss, and then we enter a new part of the podcast. More on that later. The first idea is seeds. Seeds and seed catalogues, to be more precise. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, it seems this is the time of year to start planning for spring. The good folk over at Walkerland make a great case for heirloom seeds. Link is in the show notes. To quote from the Post, "Many small seed houses work hard to preserve the diversity of plant varieties by locating, growing and saving rare, open-pollinated or heirloom seeds. Not only are they protecting us by preserving seeds as nature intended them to be, they are inviting us to join in the fight for food security." End quote. I can't overstate the importance of preserving these old varieties. They maintain a much wider genetic base than the over-hybridised commercial seeds. They have the ability, because of this genetic variation, to grow in a variety of conditions. Let's not overstate this. No tomato, open-pollinated or hybrid, will grow in the open under frost conditions. What the heirloom seeds bring is a resilience to changeable conditions. A drier summer, cooler spring, that sort of variability has already acted as a selection pressure in their past. Whilst heirloom varieties won't survive everything nature throws at them, they do have a better chance of survival than seeds over-hybridised for ideal growing conditions. And if you're going to plant seeds early, why not use biodegradable pots? Emma Kelly over at Minnie and Moon, link in the show notes, shows how to make newspaper pots to drop right into the garden once the soil is warm enough. Our second idea of note this week is the disruptive economy in Japan. Spread, a Japanese company, runs a low-labour, high-tech lettuce unit producing 21,000 heads of lettuce daily, and they are looking to open a fully automated unit in 2017. I can see the benefits from this, but I can see drawbacks. Hydroponics would probably feature in the system, and efficiency, in air quotes, would be high. The idea of peopleless food production offends something deep within me. Then again, self-checkouts at supermarkets and automatic teller machines at banks also lose the personal touch. Then again, we are talking about food. I just don't feel right about it. Maybe I'm being a little Luddite, and these units will feed people where they live. Shorter supply lines are good. A reliance on energy inputs to maintain growing conditions could be problematic unless the energy used is renewable. I have thought deeply about this week, and I'm still ambivalent on the subject. Any thoughts would be greatly appreciated. Email me at john@worldorganicnews.com or at the Twitter handle at Mr. John Moore. A link to this story is in the show notes. And now for the news section of the podcast. I'll be running a series of stories on important individuals who've contributed to the world of food. Future episodes will cover John Seymour, Masanobu Fukuoka, Bill Mollison and others. Today we start with a Soviet agricultural scientist, Nikolai Vavilov. Vavilov, remember that name. It's a name everyone should know. I read something years ago about Vavilov, and he has been popping into my mind for the past fortnight. So I googled him to discover his anniversary was on the 26th of January. This man's death is in direct contrast to his life mission. He starved to death in one of Stalin's gulags. Vavilov and a team of dedicated fellow agricultural scientists collected seeds, berries and fruit. They were and are contained at the Pavlovsk experimental station in St. Petersburg, then Leningrad. Vavilov also collected the seeds of grains from across Eurasia. He traced them to their original area of cultivation. He reasoned the parent plants would be most useful to future breeders. His vision was to end famines by ensuring all available food plant seeds were held in trust for humanity. These seeds would then be lent out to be grown and tested in various parts of the world with seed returned after harvest. A similar program is underway at the Svalbard seed bank in the Norwegian Arctic. A link is in the show notes. Svalbard contains not just its own collection of seeds, but also material from other seed banks around the world, and was able to ensure the survival of material lost from the Syrian seed bank during the current war in that region. For more on the revival of older seed varieties, I have placed a link in the show notes to a BBC food program entitled The Grain Divide. Back to Vavilov. At the same time as Vavilov and his team were doing their work, Stalin chose Trofim Lysenko as his agricultural head honcho. Lysenko had some odd ideas. His most famous, or perhaps infamous, was the vernalisation of wheat seeds. When snow cover was poor, wheat seedlings tended to die off in the severe frosts of the Russian steppe. Lysenko's idea was to keep the seeds damp during winter so that they could be semi-sprouted come spring and then sow them. He conducted an, in air quotes, experiment to prove the point, and announced it a success before the trial was completed. Stalin loved the idea that a simple peasant could bring such great improvements to Soviet agriculture. For those of you interested in further information on Lysenko, a link to an episode of In Our Time from the BBC is in the show notes. Our man Vavilov was born to merchant parents and considered in the political atmosphere of the time as suspect. He raised questions about the efficacy of vernalisation and Lysenko's methods in general. As a result, Vavilov was arrested on August 6, 1940. Originally sentenced to death, this was commuted to 20 years hard labour, and he died of starvation on the 26th of January 1943. Yet his work lived on. During the 28-month siege of Leningrad, the staff at the seed bank diligently protected their precious collection. Some staff even starving to death, surrounded by sacks of wheat, rice, barley and other cereals. Given the unfortunate deaths of so many connected with this endeavour from starvation, I feel it is incumbent upon us all to remember and honour these individuals. Through their sacrifices, a truly precious gift was created and saved for all humanity. The work continues. Seed banks around the world protect the genetic variation in our food plants that could be lost in an age where productivity and return on investment are considered of greater importance than maintaining a genetic safety net for all people everywhere. Any suggestions, feedback or criticism are most welcome. Email me at john@worldorganicnews.com. That's John, Jon, no H. A transcript of this episode is available at the blog www.worldorganicnews.com under the tab Podcasts. The sounds used in this podcast are courtesy of Texas Radio Theatre Company on the Freesound site. Links are on the show notes. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak again next week.